Welcome back. And now let's look at how we can secure opportunities within the mining sector. My name is Mike Migo and you're watching Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for tuning in. Mining, engineering, sustainability and investment. Securing opportunities within the mining sector. For this conversation in studio, joined by Engineer Cyrus Njonde, PE, who is a mining consultant. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And also Engineer Shama Kiteme, who is the President Institution of Engineers of Kenya. You're not new to Jerusalem. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Mike.
Always a pleasure to have you on Good Morning Kenya. We look at the mining sector and how engineering is impacting that sector. But first of all, I'll start with you, Engineer Cyrus. When you look at the mining industry in Kenya, just give us an overview of the state of mining industry from your perspective.
Yes, thank you, Mike. To start with, mining in Kenya, it's a profession that has been since post-colonial, and so far the country is doing well, and at some point I would still put this as a two-speed. On one side, you'd always see companies, operations, and on the other side, you'll still see some bit of, lagging in terms of compliance and licensing. So it's two-speed kind of industry where it's not dormant, and again, it is actually on the move. Yeah.
And you look at the mining sector within the country, it's still emerging compared to other countries. We are talking like countries like Zambia and Tanzania. And historically, it has been underexploited. But we have a lot of potential. How then now do we translate this to make sure that, yes, there's some contribution to the national GDP, but the contribution that it makes going forward is significant?
Yes, in terms starting from the GDP level compared to other countries, of course we are at 1%, which is quite still low compared to other East African countries and Africa at large. But there is huge opportunity where we always go back to the governance aspect that normally gives the operation strength of mining in this country.
Yes.
So we would be looking at how best to fast track issues to do with licenses so that there is a license to operate for most of entrepreneurs, most of investors who are really looking to invest in this country. And there is still immense effort by the Ministry of Mining. They're trying to fast-track those processes and issue those licenses, because with license, we are assured of greater workforce, greater local content. We are assured of more employment, more job opportunities, more community growth, because mining happens in these communities.
Yes. Yeah. Engineer Shama, when you look at mining now and the potential that it portends for this country, how is now engineering coming in to ensure that there is sustainability within the mining sector? What is your role in all this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike. And very good conversation already started by my colleague, professional Cyrus. Engineering is very vital when it comes to exploitation of minerals. And we have mining engineers who specialize in this area.
Yes.
And they're able to understand all aspects of mining from, when the minerals are discovered to the process of extraction, all the way to processing. And therefore, engineering is very vital for us to be able to utilize this natural resource that God has given us. This country, as already alluded to, the contribution of mining to GDP is a paltry 0.8 to to 1, the quote between 0.6 to 1%.
Yes.
But the government has been very keen on increasing this contribution to about 10%.
Yeah.
We are convinced it is possible because of the mineral resources we have in this country, and we believe if we invest seriously in this sector, its contribution to the GDP will be very significant. And I have in mind the already known discoveries. For example, we know we have gold in Western Kenya.
Yes.
We are now looking at Murima Springs. We also have even coal in some parts of this country. And the quantified, sum of what those minerals are worth, they are staggering when you compare to the projections, the economic projection this country has. And I have in mind what His Excellency the President talked about the other day in the State of Union address, that what we want to focus in this country and the budget we need is about 5 trillion. I am convinced that that can be found in the mining sector. And the engineers are capable, they are trained, experienced, and able to spearhead this effort. And so the sustainability of the sector, so that we're looking at a situation whereby it is gainfully creating employment opportunities and playing its role into into the economy of this country. Engineers are very vital.
Yes. Is it a case of just conventional engineering, or it has to be strategic engineering? If we have to talk about empowering a sustainable mining industry.
Yeah, mining is a specialist field. We have not been as deep into it as a country as other countries. You have already alluded to that. We know in Zambia, even Tanzania, I know that. You will quite easily see the sector has developed so much. So it is a specialist area, but the training our engineers get equips them to be able to function and be active and deliver in the sector. We have some very good brains, especially in the government. The ministries spearheading this. There are very good engineers, and of course even in the private sector. What has been lacking is a proper coordination and prioritization of the sector. And the Institution of Engineers of Kenya is now saying, look, mining is a very good potential area for this country. And so we are supporting the advocacy, and we are very grateful that KBC can give us this opportunity to say, as the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, we see an area that needs to be improved, to be enhanced, because the potential of its contribution to the economy is very promising, and engineers are there, they are capable, they are willing, they are ready to spearhead this, because they are trained, they are experienced, they are certified to spearhead this effort.
Engineer Cyrus, you look at Kenya, it's described as mineral rich. But from an engineering and industry perspective, what do you think has held us back more, especially in this sector, that now portends real potential? Is it matters to do with geology policy or just execution?
Speaking of how we and what we have as a country is actually not a matter of do we have the minerals. Is actually it's the how. It's the how to extract, how to build the industry, and how to take the action. So first to just mention, like Engineer Sharma alluded, we have quite immense of minerals in this country, starting from precious stones, precious minerals, that is metals, industrial minerals, all are with us. So one part, there is a bit of not heavily quantifying and understanding the wealth we have. That is where geological information. Sometimes when you don't have an idea, you have some idea that we have the mineral, but at some point, geologically speaking, you need to ascertain, and so that one can come and start digging for the mineral. that is a bit of a very important place where a bit of uncertainty on mineral. We know we have, but we have to quantify. So mineral and geological data sometimes is an issue. And now moving to issues to do with, again, mining happens in communities. And communities, to some level, they also have, you know, their acceptance. They need to also be contacted. They need to consent for mining to happen in their community. Those are some of the things that sometimes lag the mining processes, even after you know, an investor gets a license or they're offered that chance to go to mine. So you find, and again, you come to the issue of capital. Mining is capital intensive, and that means locally and anyone who is saving to start a small mining venture in their own community, it takes longer time, and that sometimes demand that some effort is needed. So there is quite different areas that comes into play when mining comes to place. And just to also mention mining engineering itself, it's actually very interesting and very unique area. We are talking of you need to make sure that the venture or when you're going to mine, it's quite well designed. So in terms of the safety aspect, you need to make sure that lives are protected. And you also need to make sure that it's economically feasible. Investor will not come to invest without having known how the profit will look like. The environmental aspects about it and protecting future generation. Those three aspects sometimes really have to come into play in such a way that it is for sure. And when you're getting some of these licenses from the Ministry of Mining, you have satisfied them. And sometimes this make it more, it takes longer to have even one large-scale investment in this country. So those are some of the dynamics that sometimes I would say have really taken long and have made sometimes investor, you know, step away or even just wait and, you know, speculate and make sure that everything on all these conditions are satisfied. Yeah, those are some of the areas I would really pinpoint that makes the mining takes longer or, you know, not really happening as soon as we would.
And that is part of what has maybe made the mining sector within the country look like it's kind of quote-unquote stagnant.
Yes, because it's actually very intensive process.
Yes.
Think of a road, a small road project, just when you're passing on the road and you see a small ditch, people digging, it's just few tons of soil. Now you're talking of a big project where infrastructure has to be removed and all that. It has to really be well planned, compliance accepted, and all this plays makes the timeline take longer. Their project actually, so far, they will start in the next few years to come. And people and community are hopeful. And they are really looking forward to it. But they have to go with the timeline of the day. And that is how mining engineering work. It has to heavily been designed so that it becomes sustainable for longer.
Indeed. Yeah. You know, we're living at a time when sustainability has to is a talk that is very, very important, Engineer Sharma. And now we have to talk about sustainable engineering. What role does it play in ensuring that even as we mine, environmental sustainability is achieved?
Yeah, a very good concern, because why we think about sustainability is because we want to be responsible citizens. In the sense that what we do today should not compromise the capacity of the future generations to enjoy what we are enjoying today. And you look at this, whether from environmental aspect, you look at this and the fact that mining minerals are resources that you mine and you finish. You actually extract, and then you have, if it was open cast mining, you have excavations. You want to think about, restoration, reclamation, to make sure that you don't leave, for example, open excavation that becomes water pools. Then we are talking about mosquitoes or potential for people falling and dying and all that. You don't want to completely turn over an entire, sacred, lands, for example. And I know we are having a very big conversation with traditional and conservation in Rima Springs, for example. So sustainability then becomes very important. And not only that, but you also want to make sure that the resources that we get and we, extract, they do not go to waste. What we have today should benefit ourselves and those who come after us, for example. That's also an aspect of sustainability. And that's why it has been very interesting listening to His Excellency the President, the Minister of Finance talking about the sovereign fund. So that then, if there is an element of we are able to extract resources today, those resources, we should be mindful that we do not destroy livelihoods and the environment, and where communities live, we leave it a shell and all that. But also, the resources should not also be wasted. There should be a way in which the community can appreciate the resources extracted, they can be plowed back, and then if there are savings, they can guarantee future generations to be able to basically to gain from these natural resources that God has given them, or nature has provided for them. So yes, sustainability is a very big conversation, and this age of sustainable development goals, it's an aspect that as we go into this area, and even as the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, we're very keen on emphasizing so that nothing engineers, and especially in this sector of mining where we have mining engineers, do that should compromise the environment, harm future generations and all that. And we are very much alive to this conversation of sustainability, especially even when we venture into this sector. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, karibu sana. Now, Kenya does present itself internationally. Looking at how it did last year when there was a conference in Australia, Africa Down Under, and the CS for mining was there. What do you think, Engineer Cyrus, the story that the country is trying to sell, and how convincing are we in terms of making international investors see Kenya as a mining destination?
Yeah, that was a wonderful way to go out and have the conversation with the world. And with that, and what we are also seeing in the next few, this February, there should be another mining Idaba, where Africa also speak and the world also listen as well. So those conversations and how the government is really selling itself and really pulling all these opportunity to investors are really, really good, until also they reach to the point that there is closure of this opportunity closer to us, while balancing the issue of local content. When you get to have international investors come and also looking at the level of capacity that we also have as a country, as mining engineers. For your information, we have a society which is quite robust, and actually most of our engineers also are working out of this country, 360 of them professional, working even in Australia, in South Africa, and talking of them coming also to build that a rapport for the country would really add weight to what the ministry and the government is doing to get investors to come. So it's a good move, because no one works in isolation. We can't work in isolation. We can always have to invite investors. Like I mentioned, mining is really capital intensive. and local, even financial institution, they will always have to join hands to even fund a bigger project. So when this is well balanced with having local capacity and even those international investors coming, it will be a win-win situation.
What about competitive incentive packages within the mining sector? Would that make the right impact that the country looks in as far as mining sector is concerned?
Yeah, it is for sure, because we are still young, and at some point we normally have one conversation called value addition. Value addition is where you speaking of mining, processing, and getting the mineral benefits heavily the country where their mining is happening. It's also it demands heavy investment to get the mineral and processing it and bringing the technology to have it fully value added. It takes time, but before then I would, as a professional here, think that let's heavily look into extraction. Let's first get it out. Try as much as possible to get it out before moving to heavily on value addition, so that everything we will be sure, because every process has to wait for the other. Extraction is still young, so until those compliance and regulatory are really well implemented, so that investment in extraction start and mineral are brought out of the ground, then we can discuss about value addition and getting the mineral well processed in the country. So it's a step by step. So
that should also include what you'd call as exemptions when it comes to import duty, VAT, especially when it comes to specialized mining equipment.
Yes, and with that it's actually well grounded, where those machinery have really good incentive, and that makes it quite possible for those who look to invest in the country to get those machinery and set up those facilities. But even before then, we still have the bit of challenge on starting up and being started and having the right to mine in different areas. So that is where, as a country, we still are, where we need more licenses. We need more social license to start mining and start this. But again, as a professional, as an engineer, we design, and you have to also think ahead. You have to think about how those machinery will come, and I think there is a good environment in terms of getting those machinery. In the country.
You look at it from a jobs perspective. It's a chain of events. Once the machines come, it creates lots of employment for young people.
Yes, it's a chain that will unlock not just professionals, but the country at large. Like I mentioned, communities will drive heavily. You can always imagine when community hear that there will be some mining, and when such sensitization is well done and they know that this opportunity will benefit 100,000 in our county, in our community, so that would always open up not just opportunity for one but for many in this country.
Engineer Shama, you look at mining and engineering, the conventional engineering, which might aim for what you'd say is a perfect solution. But then again, you look at strategic engineering. What will impact more? Because both are necessary, but I think from a perspective of enhancing investment and sustainability and even opening up opportunities, strategic engineering is needed.
Yeah. No, I agree with you completely, Mike. Strategic engineering is needed in as far as the sector is concerned. And we have alluded to the processes, extraction, processing, and all that. So at the various stages, then you create opportunities. When you focus only on mining alone and you are exporting raw, you may not appreciate the value that you get when you process, because then processing leads to value add and all that. And I'm saying that because we have seen this country, for instance, Dedan Kimathi University of Science, now semiconductor technologies.
Yeah.
They are developing microchips and all that. And they need, for example, some of these, minerals, elements you need. And so we should be able to think about not only downstream, but also upstream. After the mining, the processes that need them to make them available to be used and to be deployed. And therefore, being very strategic, then it becomes necessary. Now, when you do that, you then map out the potential that we have. You map out the resources that we have, and then you make sure that they are there, they are relevant now. It is necessary that this is driven from a point of strategy and long-term plan as a country. Where are we planning to be as a country? It gets very interesting, the conversation about going Singapore, and it just tells you we need to think long-term. Are we saying we want to industrialize as this country? Industrialization means we have manufacturing going on. Where are the raw materials for this manufacturing? Do we want to think about foundries then, so that when we extract, there is processing, and then this is going to feed into a growing, a thriving manufacturing industry? Because when you think at, look at it that way, in a very strategic manner, but also in an integrated manner, then you start thinking about addressing some core problems we're having, unemployment. You start addressing the contribution of manufacturing to the economy, for example. And we've been saying it has been slipping, and we want to increase it and all that. So that when now you look at a bigger picture, you look at the various aspects feeding into the process, strategically you are able to start looking at revamping the economy wholesome because of the various parts that come into play into this. So yes, I agree with you. Strategic thinking and input, both from engineering perspective, policy aspect, it becomes then necessary for this sector to look at creating more opportunities. We look at sustainability wholesomely, because then when we have industries that are able to get the raw materials they need, then they are able to keep on running. I was having a conversation with one of senior engineers who gave me a story of inviting an investor in this country to come and process, I think it was bananas, ndizi, and process them. The strategic investor came, did a survey, and said, what you're producing cannot sustain me. You can only give me the raw materials for my business for one single day. From there on, I have to keep on importing. And therefore, the investor could not invest. He ran away. So when you're talking about now being strategic, integrated thinking, and broad economy-wise, you want them to look at how mining sector is going to feed into the other sectors. And I just gave you the illustration of the semiconductor technologies and all that. We're talking about precious minerals, niobium, talking about rare earths. How are they going to play into not just the fact that you're mining them, but also in another thriving sector that can guarantee jobs, and they are sustainable, and then we become a known center of excellence in production of this kind of equipment or machines or something like that. So that then we think wholesomely, we provide the enabling policy environment, and then the investors have confidence. Then that is then now we start saying we are actually securing the opportunities in the sector properly.
Indeed. That is a conversation that we are having right here about securing opportunities within the mining sector, without forgetting the aspect of sustainability. We'll continue with this conversation in just a bit after this short break. Stay with us. Many thanks for tuning into KBC Channel 1. You're watching Good Morning Kenya, The Viewpoint. Here we are focusing on the mining sector and how we can secure opportunities within the mining industry. A conversation I'm having with Engineer Shama Kiteme, who is the president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. Also Engineer Cyrus Jonde, professional engineer and a mining consultant. Engineer Jonde, when you look at the mining sector, it does grapple with a lot of what you'd say is a complex matrix of challenges and opportunities, yes. But then again, we are looking at volatile commodity markets, rising sustainability expectations, rapid technological shifts, redefining how mines operate. But from all that, what do you think is the biggest problem within the mining industry that if it's addressed, things will open up?
The biggest bottleneck in mining comes at play for me where the license to operate. I'll just put that word in two ways. License to operate is where you're given license by the ministry relevant of mining. You're told you have the right to go and get that mineral that you requested for. And the second part is the license to operate from the community part of you. We call it social license. And those two things, those two areas has to have convergence. And this is in referring to a project, big project that will benefit the country at large. So a large-scale mining investment really need to balance between those two licenses. Because once you have both of them,
yes,
you're good to go. Yeah.
Engineer Shama, is there a strategic engineering framework that would address or anticipate the aspects that I've just mentioned within the mining sector?
Pardon me?
A strategic engineering framework that would deal with the things that I've mentioned, things to do with rapid technological shifts, and also redefining how mines operate.
Yeah, very good question, Mike, to be honest. And let me acknowledge that in recognition of this need of accelerated rapid engineering framework to ensure that the sector plays its critical role in the market.
Yes.
The Institution of Engineers of Kenya, even before I get specific to mining, has been very deliberate on looking at all the sectors within the economy, because our engineers are all over, not just in infrastructure sector, power, water, energy, water, roads, but also agriculture, aviation, and mining. So we have been very deliberate in making sure that we excite or initiate conversations around these sectors. And then we have formed task forces of experts in these sectors. And one of it is mining. I've mentioned others, the energy and that. So that then we are able to generate well-synthesized policy proposals and all that. And this now becomes part of what we are having today, which is a conference on mining. We are having a conference on mining today.
Yes.
So that in leading this conversation, we are also upping our advocacy efforts on the need for this strategic framework that can be able to, one, figure out where are we. And I'm saying so because we have not started mining this recently in this country.
Yes.
Fluorspar mining in Magadi and all of us been there for over 100 years and all that. But why at this point are we still at a paltry 1% contribution to GDP. So the part of the conversation we're having and this conference today is just to look at this now entire framework. So where have we come from? Where are we? Then how do we move forward? What kind of resources do we need to be able to make sure that we are, not only have we mapped out all the minerals that we have, but we can facilitate the extraction. It is oftenly said that those who colonize us, they know we are a very rich country in terms of minerals.
Yes.
Because they were able to map, etc., etc. How well aware are we as a country about this? And then the next question is, how are we facilitating the extraction and all that? So that's why we're having this conversation. And such a well-thought-out framework should then give us policy proposals, should give us a plan of how then we can move forward to make sure that we don't remain talking about what we have or what we know we have or what we have and we do not know whether we have, but a proper understanding of the sector and what we can contribute as engineers to start with, because we're very key and vital players. And then definitely we see the growth of the sector and utilization for the potential that it has. We are very keen as engineers, as Association of Engineers of Kenya, because we are a welfare body where we do advocacy and look at the welfare of our members. And when the sector is thriving, it is growing, we have opportunities for engineers. And this country is growing because the economy is growing, the contribution from the sector is improving and all that. And that then defines the reason why we are even having this conversation today. Thank you to KBC. And our commitment is that we want to take our rightful place to make sure that this sector really realizes the potential it has. Yeah.
Do you think it making the right impact and the direction in which now the mining sector should take in as far as your role is concerned?
Our position is that a lot more can improve. We are grateful that the government has really created an enabling environment.
Yes.
We have the mining policy, Minerals and Mining Policy 2016, and the Mining Act. Those were very good, instruments to be able to open up this space. And what we think is continuous, deliberate investment in the sector. In terms of making, advertising the country, marketing the potential we have. We have more investors, but also, and very critical, we invest in value addition so that we are able to do the processing so that we can really gain fully from the minerals that we have. So yes, the direction, the intent is there. You can see there is that intention every time I interact with senior officers, especially from the ministry. What we need to see is now growth to the next level, so that then we are not just dreaming about increasing contribution of GDP from mining sector to 10% from the current one, because we're talking about big jump.
Yes.
And it needs more concerted efforts, perhaps more than we are seeing now.
And actually, it calls for real action, not just, words and frameworks on paper. Calls for action.
Yeah.
Engineer Cyrus, when you look at our local engineering capacity within the sector of mine, can we rely on it? And what happens if we overly rely on external engineering when you're doing this mining, as well as technical expertise?
Yes, we can rely on our technical capacity. From where I stand, we are talking of engineers with close to a decade of experience, and they have worked in different mineral terrains. And like I mentioned, there are those who have even worked from outside of this country. And they have and can come back to this country with quite a lot of experience.
Yes.
And I don't see heavily where we would say that at some point we can really substitute our professional at a level that we cannot perhaps satisfy it locally. So we have quite a good number. Perhaps looking at myself and looking at the consultancy aspect, where I had to say, yes, I have the opportunity to look outside, because Africa countries are very rich, Tanzania and everywhere. I could have really looked out to go and work there, but looking locally, we can satisfy the market in terms of local capacity. We have quite great mining engineers working in the industrial mining areas in heavy quarries. They are managing. And even talking of the large-scale mining, they just concluded, and they are currently doing rehabilitation, the base titanium. Yeah. The mine manager, we schooled with him, and he was promoted, and he came up to the level that he could manage a whole lot of 3,000 workers there. And it is a great potential that we have as engineers in this country to show forth and to get the minerals out and to benefit this country. Yeah.
Engineer Shama, you look at artisanal mining in Kenya, it's widespread. Yeah. So my question to you is, how can engineering profession now provide solutions that helps in formalizing these efforts? Because you look at artisanal mining, there's a lot of environmental degradation. Now we are talking about sustainability. How can engineering profession now help in providing aid or helping in formalizing these mining efforts?
Yeah, a good question. Artisanal mining, like you pointed out, is one of the areas that really the instruments that I mentioned earlier really came in to help a lot. And we know we have even Artisanal Mining Association of Kenya, AMAC, and it's a sector we cannot ignore within the bigger mining supply chain. One of the biggest problems that artisanal mining miners face is, of course, the safety in their work. There is also the element of the environment, but also how do even they get their products out there once they have been able to mine them. I have been privileged to be involved in great conversations, even the leadership of AMAC, Artisanal Mining Association of Kenya, and how the areas they need to be capacitated. Because when you are an artisanal miner and you are dealing with, for example, deep excavations, the risks are very high. Yeah. And as engineers, we are willing to work with the relevant entities and artisanal miners at the lowest level, so that then we can equip them with some of the skills that are needed to make sure that the processes they are going through, they are not exposed to risks, and they are able to properly gain value for their investment. Everyone in this country wants to earn basic living. They want to earn a honest living, and they want to put bread on the table. They want to finance the education of their children. They want to have something they can take care of their education. And so artisanal miners, in their thousands in this country, they also deserve some sense of safety, predictability, and we need to appreciate what they do and support them. And as engineers, Association of Engineers of Kenya, we are open and willing to be part of making sure that what they are doing is legal, it is safe, they can earn a living like that. And it's part of the reason why we have the conversation today. AMAC, as Artisanal Mining Association of Kenya, is involved, is invited to our conference today. Of course, Mining Engineer Society of Kenya, and all other, players in the mining sector. And for me, I'm quite passionate about enabling the artisanal miners really to get something out of the business they're involved in, which is extraction of minerals at the artisan level. Thank you.
And that also would help in mitigating cases of black market activities and even exploitation of the artisanal miners.
Definitely, because, you know, if you make a process whereby everyone has a confidence in, then you start doing away with the black market. Some staggering figures have been mentioned about gold being found in Dubai and elsewhere, coming from Kenya. And you ask yourself, those staggering numbers, if they were going through the formal processes and the recognized route, the route that is not black market, how would this country be benefiting in terms of you know, the dues that would be coming through as a country? So then you need to create an enabling space where everyone in the ecosystem thrives, and therefore they can do things in the forward manner, and therefore we deprive the black market its relevance. And I can tell you, we need to equip, we need to enable, we need to support artisanal miners.
So there is some level of skill development within that area. Engineer Cyrus, looking at it from an investment perspective, how much does engineering certainty influence where the investors place their capital?
Yeah. For sure, it starts from the ground, and the designing and thinking and making such decisions really means that engineers must have to really look at how worth that investment is. Like I said, investment in mining starts by first looking at the safety, the economic sense, and also the environmental sustainability. The economic sense, for sure, is where you're looking into how much worth will we put in and how much will we get. And looking at the facility, the structure themselves, those are some of the things sometimes someone out here might actually miss a lot, because going down, you really fight with gravity to put structures. They are quite expensive. You have to put things like ventilations, lightings. You're going place where has never been before since they became. So that is quite capital intensive to bring that structure, and that the economic bit. Even looking at the mineral that you're going to get, how much have you put in terms of the structures? And that the balance where we really have to look heavily. And sometimes even projects are abandoned and people never made the right costing. They put all their heavy structures only to find that the mineral were not really worth getting all the structures down there. And sadly, some of those mining ventures never came into play. So that is the benefit of getting engineering perspective and making all those dynamics into play.
At what point, let's say we have mining project within a certain area, at what point should the community be involved?
Community should be involved the first time you step to look for that mineral. And that is what you call prospecting and exploration. You're almost trying to do some, digging there and here. You're trying to drill some holes to just know the amount of mineral that are in a small space. And that means you're dealing with someone's land. You're dealing with either even public, private land. You have to involve anyone within that area, either the government the community and the owners of those land. So it starts the very first you think about going to that place.
Yeah, and even the environmental impact that
Exactly.
it will have within that area.
Exactly.
All right, Engineer Shamma, you know, this is a matter where we've talked about skills, infrastructure regulation, or financing. From your perspective, between all those aspects, what would unlock the biggest mining gains that we can now say our mining sector is contributing significantly to the GDP?
Wow. Well, we already agreed in the show that mining is really capital intensive. That's true. Let me give you an illustration. The power requirements to be able to properly not just mine but also process,
Yes.
I think requires a huge upgrade in our power sector in this country. Not only that, but also other infrastructure. For example, we need railway, we need roads, and you need water, sufficient water, not just power for the investment in the mining sector. So it takes us back to the conversation about the strategies that this country is looking at strategically. And I'm saying so deliberately because His Excellency during the State of the Union address stepped out the 4 things. Of course, investment in people,
Yes.
making this country a net exporter and not an importer. But also number 3, which was very important, upgrade of our power from the current installed capacity of 3,200 megawatts to 10,000 megawatts. And so these investments in infrastructure becomes necessary. And I'll give you an illustration. 2 years ago, towards the end of his term, President Joe Biden was in Angola signing an agreement
Yes.
which was really geared towards developing a railway line from Zambia, cutting through DRC to the port of Lobito in Angola. And so you can imagine such an investment in railway infrastructure because of the target of the copper and other minerals in Zambia. Then you cut through other minerals, lithium and whatnot in DRC, and then all the way to Angola. Such is the scope of investment in infrastructure we are talking about. Sadly so, in that case I've talked about, it looked like they just want to get the raw minerals and take them to Europe and all that. And that's what we're saying. In our situation, the investment needs to be broad. Not just transportation infrastructure network, but also power infrastructure, because it's very vital so that then we can look at getting our true value from the mining sector. That is not just looking at the extraction, which also, by the way, does need this enabling infrastructure, but also the downstream, the processing that is needed, so that if then the infrastructure is lacking, we're looking at a situation whereby the investors shy off. When we are marketing ourselves, the people want to survey and look around how is the enabling infrastructure and all that. Thankfully, this country has a very vibrant logistics industry, and you can easily get your stuff through the sea to Mombasa, and then you have SGR and all that. So we are not badly off, but still the investment infrastructure in terms of transportation, logistics, and also power is necessary for us now to see and say where we are a very good place to realize the goals the goals we're talking. I am told, like by colleagues in the sector, there are equipments that, for example, will be needed to smelt gold.
Yes.
And that equipment needs huge supply of power. And that power has to be reliable. So that if you are talking of an equipment worth 300 million, and it is in the process of working, and then you have power outage, you lose that equipment completely. So we are talking about investment in infrastructure to enable proper growth of the sector. As not a joke. You're talking about power, you're talking about reliability, you're talking about, if I need to supply these minerals, where I need to supply them to be able to be processed and by an industry and do that, there should not be a disruption whatsoever. And so we need to have that conversation, therefore, and that's why I found your question very important. And I'm sure it's part of what we are looking at even today in our conference. Yes. Yeah.
Indeed. For the interest of time, I'm going to give you a chance to give your closing remarks. And my question to that effect is, what does the future look like within the mining sector? And start with you, briefly.
Yes. The future of this industry in Kenya, the mining industry, is bright. And that's why we are here, to support the industry and to not, shy away and really look that this industry contribute to the Vision 2030, even going to the 10% of the national GDP, and also adding that globally speaking, we need not to be left behind, because this is a moment in life where many countries and nations are looking for what we call the critical minerals, strategic minerals that we still have as a country. And this is the time to make sure that they really get out and they benefit the world, and so that even the nation at large benefit.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Engineer Shama.
Yeah, I think every time you hear that we are only at 1% contribution to the GDP, and we know we have a potential to take this to 10% contribution of the GDP, it just tells you the immense potential the sector has. If you imagine right now, we may have absorbed only around 600 engineers. We are saying if you now take this 10 times, you're going to absorb 6,000 engineers. I can never be happier than that as the president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. And so I see very big potential. And the beauty is, every time you have a green field, which are supposed to develop and to develop and make it a built environment, you are happier than when you go to renovate what is existing. And the potential we have is that it's green. We can go in there. We can grow the industry. We can develop it. So for me, I'm very excited about the future of the industry. And that is why, as the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, we have carved out it as a sector of interest, among others, because what we have done as IEK is that we have looked at all sectors and developed task forces and committee of experts to advise on policy around those areas. And this is what we are doing today, because we believe in the immense potential of the sector. This is why we are having the conference on mining today.
Indeed. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time to come and talk about the whole aspect of securing opportunities within the mining sector. That is Engineer Shama Kiteme, who is the president of Institution of Engineers of Kenya, and Engineer Cyrus Njonde, professional engineer and mining consultant, speaking to us here on Good Morning Kenya. This is where this conversation ends. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Mike Migwi.